everybody, looks like we are live. We made it to another Wednesday, thank God. It is Wednesday, I believe, June 26th. I felt like Christmas just happened, and look at this, it's so crazy. So let me go ahead and set up the chat. That is our tradition. So I'm just gonna go ahead and set up the live chat viewer with YouTube. And you know how it goes. I just got to go ahead and authorize this. It takes 2 seconds. So how's everybody's week going? My week is going like a blur as always. I don't know if time is ever going to slow down for me. But, you know, it's a good thing. It means we're busy, right guys? So some new projects are coming up and that's very exciting. I'm looking forward to that. Almost there so I can see you guys chatting. Let's see if I got the password. Nope. Okay, for some reason I am unable to see this. Just give me one moment, guys. We'll see if we could figure this out. There we go. Okay, so we're in business now. I should see you guys talking in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There we go. So we got Rick. Good to see you. Happy Wednesday. And Alan, good to see you. How's it going? So glad you guys made it. And so this is pretty cool. Let me go ahead and set this up on my YouTube. This way I could go ahead and make sure that I'm seeing everything correctly. Okay, great. So I can see my YouTube right now. So this is what we're doing. We're just going to do something very different today. I've been working on this female nude. And, you know, I'm in the mid stages of it. It's something different. Hey, Super Sicko, how's it going? Good to see you, man. So, we're doing this on Masonite. So a little bit different, showing you guys a curveball. So I had the Masonite and I used my marble dust and gesso mixture. And it's really nice. And if you notice, I have frisket film around the nude here, so I'm only painting here, getting some nice hard edges. When I'm done, I'm just going to go ahead and peel that off. Going to have some beautiful edges and do little things on the background, nothing too harsh. Now, when working on this, I did my 6 to 21 mixture, 6 drops of the Speedball India ink to 21 drops, full eyedroppers of water. So let's go ahead and make a mixture right now. So always get the artwork away from when you're mixing ink, of course. That's always my good, that's my #1 rule. So let's go ahead and we're going to do 6 to 10. So we're going to do 12 and 20. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. My Black India ink of choice, of course, is Speedball. Speedball Super Black India ink. It is amazing. It's even less expensive than Higgins. It flows better than Higgins, and it actually erases better than Higgins. So we did 12 and we got to do 20 of the 3-inch eyedropper. Let's get our water over here. One. Okay, it's going to be 20, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're doing 6 and 10, so we double it up. So we can do 10 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, One for good luck. Okay, so I'm going to mix this up really well. Well, the Black India ink, this stuff is definitely better than Bombay for the erasability and also for the way that it flows, and when you dilute it, you get some really nice dilutions. There's no pigment separation. So definitely, when it comes to the Black India ink, this is king. So that's definitely my findings so far. I really love this stuff. Okay. Airbrush of choice, you guys know me, is the Badger Patriot Arrow. I went ahead and changed out the high roller trigger for a regular size trigger. And I'll tell you, this is just an amazing airbrush. The amount of detail that you get is just ridiculous. It's really great. So pick yourself up one of these at usaairbrush.com, and you type in timothypsa and you get 10% off. Not too bad. Heath, how you doing? Good to see you. Let's go ahead and load this bad boy right here. Okay, I had to bend under the table there. That was painful. Even though I'm working out, sometimes it's painful. Oh man. To only be 20 again, right guys? To only be 20 again, that's all I ask. Alright, so let's go ahead and put some of this in there. I never fill the airbrush up to the brim or the rim. I never do that because for several reasons. You know, you never want it to overflow. You can always add more ink, but if you fill it up to the brim, you definitely can have some issues. And he says, Tim, can you peel a small corner of the frisket so I could see the cool texture? Of course. See right there. Let me go ahead and see if I could show you guys. Let's see. What I'm going to do, I'm going to have to change the aperture momentarily. And I'm going to zoom in and see if I could get this for you, my friend. Okay, so let's zoom in. So look at that texture, guys. And I'm going to blend, I'm going to go ahead and focus that. You can see the texture. It's almost like bone. It really is nice. So definitely is a beautiful thing. Let me see if I can even get it better. But you can see it's a real nice bone texture. Raoul, how's it going? How's everything? Now after a while, you see how it's nice and it adheres to it? After working, sometimes if you're working with the frisket for a couple of days, it's going to start loosening up. Then you're going to come in with magnets. But right now, this is fresh, no magnets needed. So let's go ahead and change that aperture back. Okay. Let's pull back. Okay. So basically, this is the early part. This is probably 25% done. And so I think that's going to be great. So it's good to see you, Raoul, as always. Thanks so much for being here, my friend. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and never do my first sprays on the panel. Always do it on a test paper. Just want to make sure. I did that India ink, white India ink challenge. So I put white India ink through the airbrush. So I'm going to actually test it a little more. So it looks like everything's working okay. Let's do some dots. Some fading dots. I think we're okay. What do you guys think? Let's lighten it up a bit. Okay, fantastic. Move this over there. And let's go ahead and just start reacclimating myself with it. So what we're going to do is we're just going to darken some of these areas. I have my freehand shield. Now around here is Frisket film, so I can be pretty loose with the edges here. So let's look at this this shadow plane here on the arm there. We're just going to darken that value up. So we're working on Masonite. We can use blades, we could use erasers more. We have a lot more wiggle room when it comes to that. So also, when we're at this stage, we're going to use a lot of freehand shields. Remember, parallel. There we go. See, I'm just deepening that area where the clavicle is. Same thing here. Now right here with her cheek, we have a little darkening here. Now what we're also going to do is realize that the cheek is darker. Now that I darkened the shadow plane here, I'm going to have to darken the cheek here and then the forehead. Because when you darken one area or lighten another area, the adjacent area is going to get dark as well. Heat says, thanks Tim, my gesso must be too thick, but now I see a surface, I can make it right. Yes, when you are doing your gesso mixture, make sure you're starting out with a mixture that's, I would say your gesso maybe as mayonnaise, a little bit thicker than mayonnaise. If your gesso doesn't start out that way before you start the mixture with the water and the marble dust, it's not the right gesso. Because if it's too thin, you're not going to get the surface you're looking for. And the thickness is what, you know, gives you that texture. So nice hard freehand shields there. Hard edges from the freehand shield, which really helps out. Right now, just like everything else that I do with this technique, I'm moving around, darkening up areas, because now I have the 6 to 10 mixture, and then I'm going to actually go darker after this. So this is sort of the midway point here. Now next week I'm going to do a portrait. I'm going to start a portrait of Emma Watson again. This one's going to be really great. I'm looking forward to doing another Emma Watson. So I just didn't have it ready this week, so I thought I'd do something different, give you guys a treat, and just see something I wouldn't normally live stream. And I'm just going to darken the hair a little bit. We have some nice hard edges with the hair here. So did you catch my latest YouTube video, which is on the battle of the white inks? I upped the production value on that a little bit, so that was good. I was able to do some little special effects and just work on the sound effects. There was an applause at the end that I put in. It was a lot of fun to do, but you'd be surprised how long editing takes. Oh wow, you know, you should see my speed painting super on. You said you're having trouble with African American hair for male. Now, short African American hair. Now, what I would recommend is check out my video, the speed painting of John Coltrane. And there you can see how I pretty much did it by simplification, and you'll be surprised how easy it is. Just simplify it and don't get lost in the detail, and that really helps super. Same thing with the hair on this bun on her head. I am not going to get complicated. I'm just going to simplify it. I'm looking for the large shapes. I don't care about the small shapes right now. I'm looking at it as, oh, you're very welcome, super. The pleasure's all mine. Now, what I'm doing is looking for the large shapes of her hair, and then later I'm going to go in with the detail. But right now it's just about large shapes and value differences, relative value relationships. And look how clean it is, as opposed to working with paper. It's clean with paper, but it just seems like, you know, it's a little easier working on Masonite. Frisket film does make your life a lot easier if you don't overdo it. And notice I'm not really going crazy with, you know, having it look perfect right now. It's too early for it to look perfect. Notice the when I'm doing detail, I'm holding this at the 45-degree angle. I did a Tim's 2-Minute Tech Tuesday on that. Check that out when you get a chance. Let's work on this side of her. So as you can see, we're moving around, things are getting darker, but you see how much that by just darkening these small areas, look how light everything has gotten down here. And that's why it's always good to move around, because I don't want to get too crazy with detail here and then this is all, you know, way behind. So let's go ahead and catch everything up. Now, one of the things is that the upper arm is less in the light than the lower arm, the forearm area. So we definitely want to make a note of that. Always look at what's happening. Like playing chess, you're going to win if you see the whole board, not just one area. So definitely see the whole board, see the whole area while you're working. Alright, so where can we go a little bit darker? I would say maybe right here. And there are times when, you know, with this texture you might not get the exact edge you're looking for, but then these little erasers here really save the day. And also you can lighten it up right here. There's some reflected light on her chest there, under her breasts. And then over here we have more reflected light going on. Right over here. So it's important to look at the nature of the light and try and understand what the light is doing. And that's going to really help you a lot when you actually depicting it. It's important to know what you're painting. And what you're really painting is light, so definitely you want to know the light effects. So you see that you really feel that there's something going on underneath this arm, which is important. It really makes a difference, you know, in the believability of the painting. We're visual storytellers, And if we know exactly what we're looking at, we definitely can tell a better story. And now, there is a counterpart on this side of her arm, just on the edge. It's a little dark. Now look, I have this Frisket film, so it's going to help me to create that nice edge there. I don't have to do much. Use the Frisket film. Use the advantages of having the Frisket film to work on your edges. It's really going to go a long way. Okay, so let's see, where else can we go? Now, one of the things I would like to touch on, there are some times when using some other tool is much better than the airbrush. And we're going to do that right now with this edge here. And if it doesn't work, we'll try something else. But I really think we get a much better edge this way. Now we have a nice edge here, almost a line. Those who say there are no lines in nature, they're not looking hard enough. There are lines everywhere in nature. These are like little dogmatic statements, and I don't like them. You know, there are no lines in nature. I think that sounds good, but I see lines everywhere. See, I'm getting that separation from the arm, from the knee and the leg, which is really very, very important. And where else can I actually get a nice, well, this is not as hard, so I'm not going to worry about that. We have a nice hard edge right here. Okay, and then right here we have a beautiful dark, right where the heel of her foot is meeting up with her thigh. See that? That's a nice accent. And I'm just looking for other areas. I could definitely do this stuff with the airbrush, but sometimes the airbrush is not the best tool. I'm always going to use the best tool. Use everything in your arsenal, guys. Everything. Right here we have a nice dark accent. Now we're at a 6 to 10, so this is not a black. It's looking black because nothing else is as dark. But as we get darker, we're going to have to darken these dark accents, but we don't want to get ahead of ourselves. I think it's best to put this over here. Less movement. You don't want to move across your painting with any kind of ink or airbrush. Alright, so I think that's it for for the paintbrush for now. And then we're going to start going in with the airbrush again. Let's move this ink further away from the artwork. Thank you very much. And let's go back into it. Okay. Alright, so we did some things on the hand here. And let's see if we can just darken some areas. I'm going to use my freehand shield, and we're going to go ahead and darken the back leg or thigh area. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to dust over everything. There we go. And then make sure that we got all the areas we don't want to have tone. You want to make sure you don't crisscross. That would be bad. So now that this is darkened, we can go ahead and darken these other areas. Now right here I see I can go ahead and darken this area. I believe it's her belly. There we go. And then maybe just a little bit here. So you see at that 45-degree angle, I can go ahead and get that inner contour right there. This is much lighter over here. I'm going to be a little further away. And you see I hit that just as well. Then right over here, you guys are quiet today. I wonder if the chat is actually working. I think the chat is working, yeah, so we're good. Hey, Jersey Joe, how's it going? Good to see you, man. Thank you so much. We're doing something a little bit different today. So we're just doing the a female nude, and everything looks good so far. How you been there, Jersey Joe? Just want to make sure I'm not too light here. Let me change the... Okay, that's a little bit better, I think. Hey, thanks, Super. I appreciate it. And notice, guys, I'm moving around. I'm always moving around, making sure I don't get stuck in one area, and keeping things, keeping myself honest. So this is a good eraser here. Let me see, where is that eraser? It's a Perfection by Faber-Castell, but it's like a pink pearl, which is pretty cool. Let me lighten this up just a bit. And what we're going to do is we're just going to lighten up some areas without digging into the surface too much. Let's see what else we have. I don't think the mono is strong enough for this, but we'll try it anyway. But we have a lot more options if we were just working on paper. Everything erases as much as you want here, so that's really good. When you're using, when you're painting on Masonite and my Masonite marble dust mixture. So I can actually lighten this area up, which is really great. Give luminosity. Same thing over here. There's a lot more leeway with this than with paper. And you can see I can continue this process throughout. We can work on the reflected lights. So we have a nice reflected light here. And pros and cons, there are pros and cons to both of them. So it really is a give and take when it comes to paper and Masonite. So Jersey Joe says, first time seeing this rendition, how long so far? Well, this is something I've been working on for like a week or two on my own. And I was going to do an Emma Watson, but I didn't get it ready for the live stream. I have a part-time job now, and that sort of slows things down. I have to get used to it. And then so I figured rather than rush the drawing for the Emma Watson, why don't I just do this week and show you guys something different. Different techniques, like here's something different I could show you, the use of the razor blade. So see, I could use the razor blade to go ahead and do some highlights in her hair. This is something you can't do on paper. And just like with airbrush, you want to do like little dagger strokes. And you don't want to dig into the surface. You want to just remove the surface that has the ink or paint. But you see, you can do some really cool things that you can't do on paper. So I switch on and off. I love paper though. Oh, definitely. Well, the good news, Joe, is I've been recording this from the very beginning. So I will have a video available of this from the very beginning, Joe. Now let's see if we could go ahead and use an aggressive eraser, and let's see what that does. Oh, you see, the aggressive eraser does nice things as well. But you see, just from a little attention here and there, I can really start to work on that hair, and that hair could really come to, yes, the medium is, it is hardboard panel, and this is by Jack Richardson and Company. You can use any Masonite for that matter. And I used my Masonite, my marble dust and gesso mixture, and there's a video on that in my video, in my video inventory on YouTube, and I definitely recommend checking it out. It's from 2008. I show you how to prepare the marble dust and actually make the marble dust and gesso mixture, so that would be very helpful. Oh, so Super says he's really thinking of switching from his micron. You show detail with badgers on similar sized paper. This is amazing and difficult for me. I'll tell you, I would never recommend anything unless I really believe in it. And I really believe this is a great airbrush. And the Extreme Patriot Arrow, what I recommend is if you ever get this airbrush, get the Iwata Mac valve with it. Only use that. I don't use the one on here, just because I'm used to the Mac valve and how it works. And then switch out the high roller trigger for a low trigger. And I'll tell you, Super, I am having the time of my life with this airbrush. And I use it for everything, for tight detail, for the beginning stages. As you can see, it's just amazing what you can do with this guy. And I'll tell you, I've worked with Iwatas for a long time. They are great airbrushes, especially their custom microns. They really are. But I'll tell you, if something goes wrong with this airbrush, might need a new needle nozzle combination. That's $9, man. And yes, it is the fine tip. And really, $9. It comes in the mail. You get the tip, the cone, and the nozzle cap. I mean, you can't go wrong. So, and it has a lifetime warranty on labor. So you just have to pay parts, and Iwata parts are really inexpensive. So, Badger parts are really inexpensive. So, highly recommend it. If you're ready to purchase one, you let me know, and I'll make sure you get that discount. 10% is not bad. It's like paying for shipping, you know? That pays for your shipping, which is good. Let's work on this hand here. I'm going to start with her fingers. I keep the air going, and I'm doing little consecutive dagger strokes. We're going to go ahead and repeat that. Super says his micron was $90 for the tip and needle. I hear you, man. It's unbelievable. I used to spend, no exaggeration, about $150 a year just repairing my micron, because we work every day, you know, this is our job. So, you know, you're going to be using it, you're going to be dropping it, you know, that's just normal. The micron is just too expensive. If you can have a better airbrush or one that's comparable and save yourself $150 a year, then that's definitely the way to go. I used to bend my needles all the time, and that was a $40 bill every time. Every time, $40. Bam. It was just crazy. So right now I'm just doing those shadows. And Joe says, no reason to change the tip if it stays clean unless you drop it. Yeah, I drop mine more than I would like to admit, you know. One day I just dropped my nozzle into the sink, my custom micron nozzle, and it broke. Just from dropping it in the sink for like maybe, it was like maybe a 2-foot drop. And that was $40. And that really adds up, and it cuts into your profit. if you're making money on your art or trying to. And these are those fading dots over here. I always like to identify what stroke I'm using, so this way when I'm practicing, I know that the practice is really important. And Super says, the Patriot Extreme and the Sosa would be a good combine. That's my combination, man. I'll tell you. The killer combo, this guy is just incredible. I take off the back of it so I have access to the needle, you know. So see that I don't have to worry, I can just like get the needle real quick, so that's my little hack there. But this airbrush is just kicks butt. It really is a beautiful airbrush. What I like about the Sotar Slim, look at it, it's like working with a mechanical pencil. It's so small in your hand. It's just really great. It's just precision. So these two airbrushes, the Badger Extreme Patriot Arrow, and this guy is the best 1-2 punch on the market today. And you're still less than if you were going to buy yourself a Highline. So that's one Iwata Highline or high performance to two really kick-ass Badger airbrushes. Mike, how you doing? How's it going? Good to see you, man. And so, hey, well, we better late than never, that's for sure. So I'm glad you're here, Mike. So now, what happens is sometimes with all airbrushes, the needle gets stuck, so I just loosen it up. You'll just feel it. You'll just feel a little twinge. It's not anything that's going to hurt your painting, but it's just something that you feel, and you just want it to feel the way a brand new airbrush feels. So I've been painting. I paint, thank God, you know, I'm so happy I get to paint, you know, every day for at least 6 hours. And so I really get to know my airbrush. And I really get to know what's good. And you can see I'm not using Iwatas. That's really important. Heat says I have a brand new Slim for sale, never been used. Okay, that's cool. Super, talk to Heath. I think we have a deal going there. Now, Heath is in Canada, so we're going to have that international shipping thing. Yes, the two airbrushes, Super. The Badger Extreme Patriot Arrow, that's the one I'm using now, and then the Sotar 2020 Slim. Those are my two go-to. So the Extreme Patriot Arrow, this airbrush has been around for a year now, so definitely just wonderful airbrushes. You're really gonna be happy with it. Everyone I told about these airbrushes, raving about it. Super. Everyone's super happy. And you know what? Like I said, I would never steer anyone else, you know, unless I use it and I put it through the test, because you know I do so many hours of airbrushing, so I know the good, bad, and ugly of everything. And I'll tell you, this airbrush is really, those two airbrushes are really amazing. So you see, now I can sort of get some of those really beautiful lights and, you know, lights, so that's really cool. So this is really great. So we got a connection here between Heath and Mr. Super there. Let's see, maybe I'll use, that's nice, right there. You see that? That's nice. So we have extra tools here, guys. And let's use every advantage we have when working with the Masonite. we have the pinky here. Don't want to forget about the pinky. But it's always so important to make sure that you pay attention to relative values. So Mike says the standard arrow is nice and sprays like a fire hose. So get the extreme for the finer control. I have a standard arrow, the 2020 Slim. Oh, thanks, Mike. Appreciate your feedback on that. I just spoke to Ken today, so it's always exciting to hear about some really cool things that Badger is up to, and they really concentrate on the artist. So, you know, I really am a fan of Badger as a company. You know, just a nice group of guys, really. Somebody who, you know, like anything else, like with Speedball and Canson, and with Badger, you know, the friends of my channel, the companies who are friends of my channel, they have to be nice companies. They have to be companies that are doing things to really take care of the artists, and that's what I do. I shop around, and you know, I'll call up a company only if I really see that their fundamentals are really great. So okay, so we have a connection there. You can see just by doing some general things, I'm just working on the hair as a three-dimensional form. I'm not really getting involved with hairs. So I'm looking at the forest and not the trees, okay guys? So I want you to think about that with hair. So important. Just gonna make this a little richer here. And there's a shape here. And Mike says, well, the standard arrow has a 0.5 millimeter tip and the extreme is a 0.3, but the superfine is a 0.21. It should be a killer detail. This has a 0.21 in it, Mike, and I'll tell you, it is just a lot of fun. And you know, I have a custom micron over there. I have a HP CH Highline. I have an Eclipse, and I'm using these airbrushes. I'm using the Badgers because they're reliable, and if they break down, I can fix them. And they're just, you know, the better you get with them, you know, they have a learning curve, but the better you get with them, you really would not use another one. It's really great. Now right here, you're always working on your edges. And right here, we have that light shape. You don't want to get lost. You want to make sure you keep the anatomy of the fingers, toes. They're very important because they are, you know, details that really you can miss. Oh, I love the Eclipse, definitely. I definitely wouldn't knock the Eclipse. It's a great airbrush. I have the side feed, and I did use the HPC for a long time. It's a great airbrush. Don't get me wrong. I love it. I think it's good, but you know, I just prefer Badger. And for me, like the price is right, and the company's fundamentals are right, and so you know, I'm just a fan. I'm a Badger fan, you know. But definitely, that's one of the airbrushes that I used to always recommend my students when they would begin airbrushing is the Eclipse. Not so much the side feed, but definitely the C model. So over here we're gonna make sure we get the modulations, the modeling of the form right over here, which is so important. So you really want to feel that. T-shirts, Eclipses can take a beating, that's for sure. That's a very sturdy airbrush. And you know what's interesting? The Eclipse and this airbrush, the Extreme Patriot Aero, both have the cone inside, very similar in design. And I think that's one of the things that make both of those airbrushes really, really reliable. I just love that cone inside. You know, when you have that, it just is fantastic. Well, the bottom feed, yes. Really fantastic stuff. So as you can see, we're making some really good. Now I'm going to go ahead and use a lighter mixture for the fingernails, but I'm just going to do the fingers right now. Let's work on this finger here. Go. So I really have a good feeling of those fingers. Even though I'm with the 6 to 10 mixture, I can be a little further away, pull back a little bit less, and still get very nice. Oh, thank you so much, Joe. You're a great guy too. I appreciate that. And Heath says, Extreme will be my next. You won't be sorry with that. I mean, it's I don't know. There's something about the Extreme Patriot. I don't know what it is, but I just can't put it down. Same thing here. We have the frisket, so let's use it. There is a dark right on the edge there. And if, remember, I would always be using my freehand shield, but with the frisket, I don't need to do that. I have a nice hard edge already. Okay, so let's see if we can do some turnings of her toes here. Now I'm a good distance away because I don't want a hard edge. I want something very soft. So you can see I'm probably about maybe 3 inches away. With feet, you don't want to have too high of a contrast. You want to sort of keep them as a little softer for looks, especially with the female nude. So you don't want to go ahead and do veins and stuff like that, even if your reference has them. Look at the works of the 19th century French academics. Waterhouse. You'll see that. They don't go ahead and do every little detail in the foot when painting women. Just goes against aesthetics. And Mike says, still waiting for my non-slim 2020 to show up from St. Patty's Day order. Man, it sucks waiting months for an airbrush. That is, Mike, that is rough. Oh boy. I really hope you get that soon. Okay, so I'm asking myself, how can I make this look better at this point? And I would definitely say we can maybe break out some of the Blackbeard wheat and do some detail here. Let's see if that works. It might be a little bit early, but we can always check. So give me one moment. I'll get the Blackbeard wheat out. Here we go. Now, let's go ahead and just test this out, see how it goes. That's the great thing about my live stream is it's not like I painted this before and I'm doing it over to show off. This is how I would be if you were just watching me in my studio. Oh, you see how great that is, guys? Look at that. You know, I don't have to go crazy and copy the exact hair, you know, as it is. I just got to worry about the direction and then just go ahead and get my organic shapes this way, which is fantastic. Hey Heath, it says, is that Tim? Where's that? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and you know, using the Blackbeard wheat, you definitely keep things very organic, which is really nice. And that's it with hair, you know, you have to have that organic. You definitely can't do it by eye. You just couldn't. You can, but it's not going to be as effective. See, the Blackbeard wheat is sort of breaking apart on me. But that's okay. It's all for art, right, guys? So that's a pretty good lesson, I think, using the Blackbeard wheat. If you can get a hold of it, definitely recommend it. And now we can go ahead and start doing some. Now this is some detail that you see, you know, maybe some clumps of hair here and there. You can put them in. That's always good. But I'm not working on the hair as if I'm working on every individual hair. That's something I'm not a big fan of in the airbrush world. I like working the way I was trained at the National Academy when it comes to hair. Yes, you can bend it for curls, but I'm just not able to do that, Mike. I don't know why. I'm not that dexterous or dexterity. I don't have that dexterity. I need like a third hand. But when you're doing it this way, you get I don't know, it just feels deeper. It feels like, you know, more like a painting. The combination of using both the freehand airbrush and tools such as the Blackbeard wheat and freehand shields, you can really do some great things with hair. And I'm also going to come in with some really dark accents later in the game. You don't have to be too careful because remember you have the frisket film, so you really can, you know, go outside the line, so to speak. Mike says, hey, a third hand would be nice. Can you drink a beer, scratch yourself, and still airbrush? That would be, if I could do that, man, that would be fun. See, right now you can see, since the frisket film, this is the second or third day. So you see it starts to go. That's when I'll start implementing magnets. Hey Willie, how's it going? How's everything? I did this all the way from the beginning. No, just kidding. No, this is a sort of a midway. I didn't have the portrait I was going to do ready, so I figured I would do something different today. We'll just work on the black and white of this female nude. Now, I already did my 6 to 21 mixture, and now, Willie, we are at the 6 to 10 mixture, doing our midtones, darkening things up. Then there's some differences in working on Masonite than working on the paper that we're usually used to, Willie. And we're just going to go over some of those differences together. Willie says he thought I was getting faster. Yeah, that would be something, huh? Too much coffee if I'm this fast. I get that really nice edge. You see that? So I'm just working on some really beautiful edges here, keeping things going. This is where parallel as opposed to perpendicular would be good with the freehand shield. One of those rare instances where you wouldn't go parallel, but perpendicular, so you go parallel. I really like the way the hair comes out. Hair is funny. It's like, can I really explain how to do it? It's just a process of paying attention and, letting it cook. You know what I mean, guys? Look at that. We're at 10:30 already. This had to be like the quickest first hour ever. Now, someone has said that this actually looks more like a pencil drawing, and it kind of does, right? It does have that graphite look, which is pretty cool. I said that this is one of the reasons why I began this technique. It is the perfect marriage between drawing and painting. Because we are painting, yet we are drawing. And I think it's the closest thing between the two of them that you could possibly do. Now what I'm going to do is, one of these days during the year, I'm going to go ahead and do something like this, but have it 2 values lighter than what I'm going to do. So probably like right about here. And then I'm going to do color. So this would be like a perfect underpainting. But that's something down the line. Now, you have your reflected light, your dark, and then there's a mid-tone and there's a light. And there is a delineation, and there are borders, so I want you to make sure that you hit that. Now I'm going to cover this up because we don't want this tone going over the arm, the top arm. I'm a good 4 inches away right now. See that now? That arm is turning. It wasn't before. I darkened the mid-tone, so that means we can go ahead and darken that dark value right next to it. A little bit closer, maybe 3 inches. Now that arm seems to turn just a little bit more. Now here, this arm is more in the light, so I'm not really seeing that turning of the form. But let's see if we can go ahead and... but I'm really enjoying how this is turning. Okay, so here's another thing that's different, guys, is that I'm working on a white surface. So we are doing things totally different than working on the gray paper that we usually do. That gray paper would do all the hard work as far as the midtones, and we just have to do the darker values and the lighter values. But now we're doing everything, so we're really working on everything turning. So that's why it's a little more laborious, but it's better because you're really paying attention to the three-dimensional forms and how forms are being affected by the light, So it's better as a learning tool. These value shapes from, let's say, the light of her breast to this mid-tone and then the dark, not only is it important to get the values correct, but it's so important to get what's happening, how one shape is bordering the next. So I want you to really pay attention to that. And this is just as much of an airbrush tutorial as it is a drawing tutorial. Really not much difference, and I always want to stress that. Just going to sharpen this. So right now I'm just working on those borders here. It's actually crucial that these are on the money. A little bit harder over here. Just a little bit. So let's go ahead and sharpen this. You always want to keep your points sharp as possible. That's one of the things. Let me double check and see if I'm seeing your chats. Okay, so I do see the chat has gone on. Don't buy Tamiya, Jersey says. And okay, cool. So you guys are talking. Let me go ahead and change the... I do see the chat start working, so let's go ahead and fix that real quick. Okay, it's going to take me real quick to go ahead and authorize this chat again. cool. Almost there. Okay, great. You guys are back. And 10:30, that's right, Willie. Willie knows the deal. So you guys have been talking about Coast wants $26 for the Tamiya tip and a Wada that happens to fit it. Oh my goodness. Coast, they like money, those guys, I'll tell you. Not a big fan of Coasts. Nope. Not a big fan of Coast Airbrush. That's the home of the $300 airbrush that costs $100 on USAairbrush.com. Oh, Jersey says, I love her head, leaning forward, looks very good. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. But, you know, you have me intrigued about the Tamiya. I want to see it in action when you can, because it's a different airbrush. And so who makes Tamiya? Is that a Japanese company, Mike? Because I don't know too much about them. $18 for a micron tip at Coast. Okay. Not too bad. But I do like the fact that, you know, mine costs $9. Who all is on Orange Airbrush Forum? I've been on there, but I just don't have the time anymore. But I know there's some really cool things going on there. Make sure you don't oversaturate, so let you have a little less leeway here than you have, let's say, with the paper. So if I want some really smooth gradations over here, I'm gonna be back about 4 inches because I am working with that 6 to 10, guys. It's gonna be beautiful when I go ahead and remove the frisket film because it's just gonna have these incredible edges. It's just gonna look great. So this is going to be, the cool thing is I'm actually taping this from beginning to end, which is very cool, and that's going to be hopefully available. I'm trying to, now that I have the ability to accept payments on my website, I'm going to pretty soon set up this particular painting from the very beginning to the very end. It'll be like 4-5 hours of instruction along with other ones, so it's going to be pretty wild, and I think it's going to be, I'm going to be really generous, and the prices are going to be really right. So generous with information that I don't see is given away too much on other videos. Alright, there's a nice, beautiful gradation here. Let's see if we can hit that. Again, a good, I would say 2.5 inches from the surface there. There's a slight very slight little gradation here. Hey Willie, thank you so much. What do you think of the green screen? You know, having my pastel paintings behind Willie. That was so. I have this room that just opened up in my house, and it had a blue wall. So I was like, well, what if I changed the keyer and just used the blue wall as my green screen? It came out really nice. So that was pretty cool, and I did the little thing at the end with the applause, and that's why I took a little extra time, Willie, but when I do the videos, I want to really do something that stands out in quality, like my live streams, right, Willie? You know, I'm going to take care of everything I can do, you know, by, you know, having the best live streams and being, doing my best with technique, learning new techniques so I can share them, having the best video equipment that I can afford. And then whether it's successful or not, that's not my job. My job is just to do the best I can, and we'll see what happens, right? The results are not up to me. And I think that's one of the things I'm going to do, is not worry about the results. That's not up to me. I'll always get better, try new things, but as far as results, you know, I'll do my best and just see what happens. I see some of these channels and they're really horrible. Oh my God, the work is horrible, they're teaching horrible things, and they have literally like 1 million subscribers. And you know, I could get discouraged with that, but then I say to myself, you know what? That's not up to me. I love doing it, and I love talking to you guys, so I'm just going to concentrate on that. Mike says he's going to splurge and get 2 tips and a needle from Coast with my 0.2 millimeter Tamiya spray works HD2, and pray I never mess it up again. Oh wow, well, let me know how that goes, Mike. I wish you well with that. Now what I'm going to do is, now I really like the way that is. I'm also, what I do is if I see everything's looking a little bit light on the bottom area due to the exposure of the photograph, I'll actually go in Photoshop and darken the photograph so I can get more detail down here, but leaving up here alone, you know? Yeah, Willie, I don't understand, you know, how some of those channels could just, you know, do so well, and I'm like, they're not really teaching fundamentals and good principles of art, and I'm like, wow. But that's up to them, and you know, God bless them, and I'm so happy they have that. But I'm gonna be me, and you know, and I'm gonna can do this, and I know it's gonna be successful. When, I don't know. But if we're offering good stuff, then hey Bradley, how's it going? Bradley says, Tim, I'm sure everyone here is glad to be a subscriber of yours. Your videos are great. Thanks, Bradley. I appreciate that. My namesake, Mr. Smith. And so I really appreciate that, sir. You know, I appreciate you guys' support and everything like that. And I'm always trying to get better, you know, always trying to do really great things for you guys, and not resting on my laurels, so to speak. Oh, so my guess says it will be only used for ink, like the 2020 Slim. No more paint in my Tamiya. You know, yeah, ink is just, it's addictive, right? It just works so well with the airbrush, no complications. And that's one of the reasons why. And that's one of the reasons why I like teaching the airbrush with the India ink, because a lot of people, just didn't have the guidance with using Createx or Golden. They didn't have the guidance because it would clog a lot and it just wouldn't be a lot of fun. And that's what I love about the India ink, is that it is a lot of fun. Some of the problems that people would have don't have that anymore, and that alone makes the medium fantastic. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come in with some really nice dark accents. So let's go ahead and change our, see, we have the 6 to 10 mixture. So what I'm going to do, I have a lot here, right? That's a ton of it. So I'm going to take that 6 to 10 mixture, no matter what is in here, it has that, ratio, 6 to 10. So my thinking is make it half and half, so it's still 6 to 10. So that would, remember, it was 12 and 20. So I would say we can go ahead, and so it would say this is half of that, so I say 6 to 10, right? And then we'll go ahead and we'll make it 10 to 10. So we'll put 4 more drops in there. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's a 10 to 10 mixture. It's a little bit darker. Let's go all the way. Let's make it 12 to 10. 2 more. There we go. Now we know it's going to be a nice dark. Joe says, Mike, I would sell it. I had 2 Develbus airbrushes and they were horrible. Oh man, I always wondered about Develbus. So tell me about the Develbus there, Joe. What do you think of it? The best airbrushes are the ones that you just don't think about it because they're working for you all the time. And hello, Badger. My waters, it was like starting an old car in the winter. I see a lot of the Iwata guys, right? They start their painting and all of a sudden it's spitting, it's doing all kinds of weird things. Jersey, you want to know how I clean my airbrushes? I'm maniacal about cleaning. All you guys know, Willie, Bradley, you know how maniacal I am about cleaning airbrushes. There's not any paint or anything on anything here. What I do is I clean, once I'm done painting, I don't let it sit. I go ahead and spray out all the ink. I put some water in there, spray it out, put more water in, spray it. I take out the needle. I take a Q-tip with the water and I just make sure no fuzz is coming out, and I'll take a Q-tip with the water and clean out the bay there. Clean the needle. Before I put the needle back, spray more water in, put the needle back in, spray more water, and I'll tell you, it's just water. You don't need anything else. So it's just fantastic. So that's one of the other reasons. Just cleanup is really easy, super easy. Just water, Joe. That's it. Once in a while, if it gets really bad, I'm going to talk about once in a while, I'll put some Windex through it. But that's it. Just regular old tap water. Just testing it out here. That was a nice dark. So now we can go a little bit darker now. And let's go ahead and hit some of those darks. You see how the Frisket is sort of losing its stickiness. But the trick to just cleaning your airbrush with water is just never letting it sit, you know? Willie says, Tim, when do you clean them? You never stop cleaning. It seems that way. That makes it easier, right? I don't have to clean it too often. That's very funny. That's true, Willie. Some days, you know, because I do make a large part of my living selling my paintings, so I have deadlines and commissions due, and so yeah, you know, it seems like I'm always running. Alcohol is fine, yes, Jersey Joe. I do like working, I do that when I'm painting with acrylic. I'll use, not alcohol, I'll use the stuff for the nail polish removers, acetone. But I make sure I rinse that out with water really fast. So as you can see, I'm deepening some of those darks here. Bradley says, I'm sure you said earlier, but I got here. But what are you painting tonight? This is a female nude, and this is, of course, India ink. It is on hardboard with my gesso marble dust mixture. It has a really nice texture, and it's a white surface, so it's something different. I've been working on this for about a week or two, you know, off and on between, you know, page stuff. And I thought I'd just, you know, do a different live stream, show you how I work. Now, I went ahead and put Frisket on there. I cut her out, and now I have Frisket covering everything but her. And then when it peels off, it's going to be wonderful, you know. So, yeah, so this is hardboard with gesso and marble dust mixture. Let me see if I can zoom on in and see if you can see the mixture there, the surface. See that surface there? It's, you know, it's kind of like bone in a sense. There's no texture, you know, there's a texture, but there's no uniformity, so it's just sort of like an overall texture, which is really great. Jersey says, yes, big guns are awesome. I never said you said Developus, I was talking about myself. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. No, you and Mike were saying, yeah, but Developus, I heard about them. I just never seen one. Let's see. It does. It looks like Paylone. Is that the surface there, Joe, you're speaking of? Okay, so now we're going back with our, basically is our 12 to 10 mixture. So that's 12 drops of India ink to 10 full eyedroppers of water. And this is how we're getting our deeper darks here. Once you darken one area, you're just going to have to continue darkening other areas that are adjacent. The airbrush is screaming. And Joe says, absolutely gorgeous. So cool. Thank you, sir. I hope the painting is coming out. I don't know if you're talking about my painting, but I really appreciate that if you are. Or talking about someone's airbrush, or sometimes I get in the middle of the conversations. I get too late into the conversations there, Joe. Get some little deeper areas. All right. Let's deepen this dark here. Just where the arm actually touches the pectoral area. You get that really dark, deep, and then everything. So this is dark, and you see how it just sort of lightens up as her arm's coming forward. And that's our goal, right? Gives the illusion of things going forward and things going back. Same thing here. Let's see if we can soften up all those wispy details in the shadows. Even if we have to go darker, just pull that back and then bring those arms forward. Let's see if we can work on some of these linear details here. There we go. Always rinse off your, brush off your freehand shield. You don't want to put wet paint somewhere else. Or wet ink in this case. There we go. So your freehand shield is your best friend. Let's get some. Always check for tip dry. India ink doesn't happen as much if you're working with acrylic, but it does happen enough, so you always want to make sure that it's not impeding the effectiveness of your airbrush when you're doing detail. So here we are, it's 11:03. And you can see, look at all these different things here, when you go darker in one area. And what really looked dark before isn't all that dark anymore. That little clavicle area all of a sudden looks pretty light. Now right here, I'm not going to go with this really dark mixture and try. That's something I never want you to do. I never want you to take a really dark mixture and try and do something as fine as this eyebrow right here. This eyebrow right here would be too risky with that dark. Work with a very light mixture, even a 6 to 21, and then build that up. So definitely don't try and, see, that's one of the mistakes that early going artists make with airbrush, is you don't want to do fine detail with a dark value. It's so easy to make a mistake. So you definitely don't want to fall into that trap. Okay, let's go back. Now we can go ahead and use this to just lightly pull up some of the ink there. Get some nice detail. Not too much. See, you can go too deep. You don't want to rip into the surface. Steve, how's it going? How's everything, man? It's good to see you. Thank you so much for stopping by, Steve. Oh, I appreciate that, my friend. And thank you again for purchasing Lady Gaga, Steve. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. And it's an honor to have my work in your collection, sir, and I really mean that. And Willie says, Tim, is that the Speedball India ink? Yes, it is, definitely. So This is my go-to ink for now on with the Super Black. It actually beats out Higgins. I haven't used my Higgins in quite some time, and I'm not going back. This is really good stuff. If you have Higgins, use it, but when you get new, definitely go with the Speedball. It's like half the, no, I would say if you get the 16 ounce, I mean the 32 ounce, it's literally like $9-10. It's crazy, and the quality is really fantastic. And they care about artists, and I like that. You know, I always like to recommend companies that are really going to take care of you if you have questions, and because that's the way I am. I take care of my people. I need to work with companies that are going to take care of my people. Another reason why I don't work with Iwata. They ignore you, and you know, and that's all you have to do to me is ignore me, and I will find someone who isn't going to who is going to take care of their people. Yes, so Steve, we are working on this hardboard. You can get it at Dick Blick. This is the hardboard panel, 9x12. It is my mixture of gesso, acrylic gesso, waterproof acrylic gesso, and my marble dust mixture in water, and it really is fantastic. So definitely, you know, try it. There's 2 videos on my YouTube channel. They're back from 2008, but definitely look at them. I go over how to mix it, how to prepare the surface, and actually put the 3 coats on the surface. You're going to love this surface if you ever check it out, Steve. You really will. Willie says, I just got that. I have enough ink for the rest of my life. Oh, so you did buy the big ink of the Speedball. Fantastic. All right. So let me know what you think about it. I'm always, you know, love to hear thoughts, your experiences. You know, I learn as much from you guys as you guys learn from me. So as you can see, I'm just getting little details here and there, doing little things. Now the hair is going to be something that, you know, just like in paper, I'm going to be working on throughout the painting, you know. I'm going to be going back and forth. You know, the hair sort of never really resolves itself until the very end. So now I go ahead and I'll dust that back a little bit. Now we even have the ability to use white pastel with this, which is really cool. I don't do too much of it, but at the very end, definitely go ahead and do that. So Willie says he has nothing for the rest of his life. That's cool. And I don't want to get overzealous with this because this is very black ink here. So I want to be a little weary of going too crazy. So Angra said to use white as sparingly as ultramarine, and I believe that. You know, when you're painting, you know, you want your white to be the very last thing, those highlights, and they'll pop out next to a darker background, or even, you know, a darker light. The whites will really explode. So using white as sparingly as ultramarine is what Angra said. Now, also, black is something you want to use sparingly too. You definitely don't want to go nuts with it. Too much black, going too dark too soon. Now, this is still very light, and I'm close to the end of it. It's still very light, but I'm being very weary of keeping things light and then building up slowly and having those dark accents here and there to really explode it. Bradley says, I just got the Speedball from Hobby Lobby and a new battery-powered eraser that has a really small size like the mono. Very nice. What brand is that? I have this one. I think everyone has this one. Let's see. Where is it? Okay, here it is. This one right here, the Helix, that has, but it's even smaller than the Helix, Bradley. So let's see what this does here. Like I said, a lot of times I'm testing out things like you guys are. And I think this is taking off a little too much. Let's see. I'm making sure I'm just nipping the surface here. And I'm not too crazy about it in this case because it's not giving me the control I want. So I'm going to refrain from that. But yeah, it's really great, and I really love the electric erasers. So definitely, I definitely want to know more about that eraser, and let me know what your findings are, Bradley, on that. Okay, let's continue some of these dark areas here, these dark accents in the fingers. But look at the detail that you get with the India ink and the Patriot Extreme arrow. Like a pencil, which I really love. Oh, great! So you do have this Stadler, and that's this one, right? This is the Stadler, which I do love. I really like this one a lot. And so yours is called a Master's Touch. That sounds great, man. I can't wait to hear what you think. Okay, so let's continue some dark accents with the hair. And I'm looking at the big shapes, guys. You know, I'm not looking at small shapes. As you can see, the frisket is sort of losing its strength here. So I'll hold it down with my finger here. That's good. It's very quiet. That's really good. And what battery? Probably like a AA, you would say, Bradley? Okay, got to be very careful here. This is a dark, but it's just this little tiny dark fade here at her, just right there at her armpit. There we go. Just a little bit, just a little indication. It might be a little powerful, so I might knock that back a little bit. Okay, so right here I do see we have a little darker there. So let's see if I could go ahead and hit that without crossing over here, which is something you really got to be mindful for, especially when you're working with dark here. So I recommend definitely a perpendicular. Yeah, see that? So you want to hit that dark there, but we didn't crisscross into the forearm, which would have been disastrous. Would have been something that we couldn't fix, but spending time fixing it is a lot worse than just continuing to work on your painting. You don't want to waste time fixing stuff, especially if you're getting paid for it. So Mike says, I still have a bottle of Pro Art ink. Guess I'll pick up a bottle of Speedball and use Pro Art as backup. Pro Art is a great ink. Did you see that video I did on Pro Art? It's really nice. A little bit thick coming out of the bottle, but besides that, and yeah, definitely enjoyed Pro Art. Good backup ink. And Bradley says, and it's a little bit bigger than an airbrush, not so. Oh, okay, a little bit bigger than an airbrush, but not so bulky in your hand, which is very good, definitely. So Tim's 2-Minute Tech Tuesday was on a Wednesday. I just didn't want to rush it, you know, guys, because I wanted to really up the production value. So, you know, otherwise I wouldn't have been able to, you know, actually do the graphics and stuff like that. I didn't have too much B-roll, but I didn't have to, I could work on the graphics, you know, the letterings and the writing and also the logos of the two inks. I thought that was very important. And so I'm glad I waited, but I try to get out on Tuesday. But if it's a Wednesday, I'm gonna, you know, that's okay. Two AAA batteries on that, Bradley. Very cool. AAA batteries are good. You can get them anywhere, you know. You always have some lying around the house. So Heath, how's life over there in Canada? You know, I'm coming to seek. I'm going to Canada this September or October. I want to go to Montreal and Toronto. Any advice on those cities? Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to remove the frisket just to show you why frisket film is so fantastic. So we're just going to lift this up. This is always cool. So let's go ahead and make that happen right now. I'm going to go on vacation, yes, in September. More like check out the life, see how Canada is, lifestyle, rents and stuff. I don't know. That's just thinking way down the line in the future, not soon. But. So what we're doing is we're lifting, but we want to make sure that we can reuse this because we're going to reuse it if we need to cover her up again. Okay. There we go. So look how beautiful that is. Now I'm putting this on the wall. So as you see, we have some really clean edges here, which is really nice, and that I like a lot. So it's really, using frisket film is the #1 advantage of working on, and #1 advantage when working on Masonite is the ability to use a frisket film, and I'll always use a frisket film because it's just so great. He says, Tio is going 100 miles an hour, and Toronto is going 100 miles an hour, and Montreal is different for sure. Now I'm in the New York area, so I'm just, you know, wondering like how would it compare to the New York area. So it's going to be like a work vacation sort of thing, checking out the area, and you know, there's some really cool YouTubers up there. Maybe I could do a meetup with them or something like that. That would be cool. This is actually one of those sites where you actually that photographers allow you to have the rights for it. So it is copyright free, which is good. But you see how, like this is just, there's no Frisket film. This is just pure edge right here, which is really nice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Nude eraser, and I'm very softly, I'm going to go ahead and erase any kind of eraser marks that are on the contours. Let's make that happen. Now we may have to fix some of the contours because Frisket is never perfect. I'm pretty good at Frisket film cutting, but still it's not perfect. And you can see, let me just see if I can, there are some pencil marks, but they erase pretty readily. So he says, so he's a country boy, and cities are moving too fast for me, too many people and street lights. I live in a small town that has 3 sets of stoplights. That is nice, though. There's good things about being in a small town. So that's really cool. Oh, Mike, take care, man. So, night all, got to get up early, so I hope you have a great night there, Mike. Thanks so much for stopping by. It's always great to talk to you. I really appreciate that. So we only have about 7 minutes left. So this is pretty much how I would handle the India ink on wood panel. So you see how it's a little bit different. Oh, so Willie's also from a small town, which is pretty cool, right, Willie? You're from a pretty small town, am I right? So I'm going ahead and erasing some of the pencil lines that are in the way. Well, one great thing about working with the Frisket film is that this actually is like matte, the cutting mats. It actually repairs itself. So that's so much better than working on, let's say, illustration board. 100 times better, guys. So I can see we're going to get some of the reflected lights on this shoulder here. Get some really nice modulations of the form, which is really beautiful. It's a different look than on the tinted paper, right, guys? Oh, Steve says, I often just transfer my drawings. Picking up the pencil on the sticky side leaves no pencil lines. Oh, that's true. Yeah, that happens. So, oh, surgery. So, okay, let me just get this straight. So Steve says that he just transfers his drawing, picking up the pencil lines on the sticky side and leaves no... Wow, so that's very smart. Okay, I like that idea. That's very cool. I got to see that in action. That sounds really smart, Steve. So we're making sure that we're not just leaving these areas as one value. There's a lot going on in that value. A lot of modulations, value turns. So you want to make sure that you definitely get that full value range, like in here. That's really going to make a big difference. Oh, so you work on illustration board all the time, I see. I don't work on illustration board, and I'll tell you why. I had some disasters. I mean, I was able to fix it, especially with Frisket film. When I would pull the Frisket film up, the paper part of the board came out, and that was so horrible. And yes, cutting is like surgery. Definitely. I had those horrible moments, and once I had that moment, I was like, I just can't do illustration board. It's good, but you know, I just had that mistake, and I don't want to go back to that. So we have a beautiful, but I admire that you're good at that, because I wasn't. You know, I'm kind of a little bit on the rough side when it comes to cutting stuff and pulling Frisket up, Steve. So I do appreciate your knowledge with that. So he says, I hate rush hour here. That other car is always in the way. That's so funny. Oh my God. Yeah, I tell you. I have a job now, like a part-time job. And I have to be at work on Friday morning at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I'll tell you, I love the fact that there's no traffic at 3 o'clock in the morning. That's the only time in this area there's no traffic. This area is crazy. We had a snowstorm in November. It was like a snowstorm they didn't realize. Literally, it took me 5 hours to get 10 miles to get home, and it was only 10 miles. It took me 5 hours. That's how crazy it is here as far as congestion. So Steve, when I pulled that up, and I pulled up part of that illustration board, and it was something I was working on for a long time, man, I had to go have a drink. Of course it was coffee, but then I had to really think about how to fix it, and I finally did. Luckily I used gesso. So even if like I tore the surface, I can always build it up with the gesso. So that's why I always like using gesso. So that was really good. So guys, it is 11:29. So it was a little bit different. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Next week we're going to be doing a portrait of Emma Watson. But this week is pretty cool. Now this is going to be a full-length video from beginning to end, which is going to be really great. I think you guys are really going to enjoy that. It's going to be available on my website probably within a couple of weeks. I just got to find time to edit these videos, you know. So Steve says, I give the illustration board a few thin coats of acrylic white to seal the paper, then go ahead and transfer the drawing. That's a very cool technique. I love to see that. Willie, thank you so much for stopping by, guys. Thanks for checking out my new video, the India ink and, well, the white ink battle or white ink challenge. So that's really good. Thanks, Heath. I appreciate that. Keep a lookout on Ink Flingers and also on my YouTube, Facebook page, and I'll do a progress on how she's coming out. So thank you guys. Steve, always great to see you. Bradley, everybody out there, Mike, and you know, thank you guys for coming by. I really appreciate it. Raoul's good to see you, and thank you everybody. If I missed you, it's, you know, everyone's important, and I really appreciate you guys taking your Wednesday to talk to me. I hope you have a great night, guys. Take care.